Well, meanwhile, in Italy, human rights advocates are welcoming the introduction of a long-awaited piece of legislation that will amend the anti-discrimination law. The proposal would recognise discrimination against women as well as gay and transgender people. Our Italian correspondent joins us now from Rome, Giorgia Orlandi. Morning to you, Giorgia. This piece of legislation is seeking to bridge a divide that has long plagued Italian politics, really. How likely is it that it will pass?
Good morning, Rosie. Well, the proposed bill was assigned to the competent parliamentary committee that is actually reviewing the bill ahead of the debate that will take place in Parliament, and that debate will be followed by a vote to approve or not approve the bill. We know that despite being one of the founding members of the European Union, Italy is one of the few countries that has not yet approved a law on hate crimes against LGBT people, and this bill in particular will introduce the crime of misogyny. But to discuss that, I'm now joined by Professor Angelo Schillaci, who's a professor of comparative law here in Rome, but he's also one of the few people who's been working on the text of the bill alongside MEPs. Professor Schillaci, after 25 years, Italy is getting closer to the approval of such a bill. How important is to pass that?
Well, you just mentioned the first reason why it is so important to pass this bill. We have been waiting for such a bill for over 25 years. From a specific legal standpoint, it is important to approve this law in order to fulfill a number of international obligations that Italy yet has to fulfill, and I'm referring in particular to European directives as well as to the Istanbul Convention that regards specifically violence and hate against women.
Now, according to the latest report by the European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights, when it comes to the LGBT community and acts of harassment and violence, if you look at Italy, according to that survey, only 8% of the people that took part in that survey declared that they had been attacked in the past 5 years. The average in the EU is 11%. But also, according to the same survey, it seems that people are not really open about being LGBT here in Italy. Can we say that Italy is a homophobic country?
Well, this is not a simple question to answer to. What is certain is that in the last years there has been a significant increase of hate crimes and hate speech against LGBT people. There is an increased phenomenon of homophobia and transphobia in our country. It is due particularly to the increasing courage to denounce these crimes and these facts that have always been there. What I'm noticing in the last years is that there is a growing intolerance against minorities, that it is part of the populist discourse. So the approval of this law will be very important in order to overcome this populist discourse that goes against minorities.
Among the biggest opponents here in Italy, there is the Italian Episcopal Conference and pro-life groups. They claim that the law would limit freedom of expression. What's your take on that?
I definitely don't agree with this position, because this law doesn't affect freedom of thought, but just incitement to hate, discrimination and violence. That is something very different from freedom of thought. Everybody will remain free to express their thought. Nobody will be free to express hate, violence and incitement to discrimination. It is a huge difference.
Thanks so much, Professor Schillaci, for joining us on the program. Well, Rosie, it looks like we'll have to wait a few more days to find out what's the Parliament decision on such bill. Back to you.
We'll be following it here. Giorgia, thank you very much, our correspondent in Rome.